Courtroom this morning went quickly as the so-called Barefoot Bandit set the wheels in motion for him to be brought back to the U.S.
NBC's Peter Alexander was in the courtroom this morning when all of this went down. He joins us now live by phone to tell us exactly in detail what happened. Peter, good afternoon.
Mimi and Joyce, good to visit with you right now. We were inside that courtroom, but even before Colton Harris Moore was marched into the courtroom, he was marched along a boulevard right before the Chief Magistrate's Court. As he came that way, he was surrounded by at least two large Bahamian SWAT team members, their faces covered, and then more than a dozen officers as well. He was shackled. When he walked into the court where I was standing, we had a chance to see him face-to-face for the first time. He was wearing a white Bahamas T-shirt with a flak jacket, a bulletproof vest over it, and this time he had shoes on, though these shoes didn't have shoelaces. When he met before the judge, his handcuffs were taken off, and he quickly said yes, that he understood the charges, and asked how he would plead. He said guilty. The judge asked again. He said guilty, repeating it twice. It was a short court appearance, and now what we expect to happen is that if the U.S. Embassy is able to pay $300, the fine for which he was sentenced to pay $300 in cash or to face 3 months in a Bahamian prison, a prison that is known as Her Majesty's Prison at Fox Hill. This is not a pleasant place. The embassy said right now that it is their intention that he will likely be staying in the United States tonight. They would be the ones who would deliver that $300. Joyce and Mimi?
So tell us now more about the surveillance video that we've also seen of Colton Harris Moore at that dock the night that he was captured.
Yeah, yesterday we spent the day essentially retracing Colton Harris Moore's final steps during those last hours before he was arrested late Saturday night, early Sunday morning. We took a plane to a van to a boat to the exclusive and ritzy Harbor Island, and the surveillance video was captured by a yacht there owned by a wealthy businessman, and it shows Colton Harris Moore just shy of midnight running one way and then running back the other. Police say he was essentially casing that marina for boats to steal. Nobody saw him on that videotape at the time, but one individual did see him about 3 hours later get into a boat. And while it's been described as a high-speed chase, according to this witness, Colton Harris Moore never turned the engines on. He essentially idled, and had the boat float away into the darkness just after 2 o'clock in the morning. When he alerted friends, they got into their private boat. Bahamian police, who do not have a police boat of their own, got into this private boat, and they chased him at about 30 knots, 25 to 30 miles per hour, ultimately catching up to him a half mile later. When they got there, Mimi and Joyce, it was quite a scene as it was described to us. I asked what Harris Moore said. They said that he said, I don't want to hurt anybody. Don't hurt me. I don't want to go back to prison. And he held a gun up to his head, firing a warning shot, as you've heard the story described. That is when authorities fired about 12 times, if not more, into the engines, disabling that boat. When they pulled up beside him, Colton Harris Moore, who was in the fetal position, had already tried to get rid of all the property in his backpack, including a laptop, an iPhone, and a certificate inside a Ziploc. There were several pieces of paper, including one that was a Boy Scouts of America certificate.
And Peter, tell us what happens with this case now, assuming that he will indeed be coming back to the U.S. With so many alleged charges that he might be facing in 8 different states. How will this case come together, and how might his attorney proceed?
Yeah, it is a good question. Important to note, his Seattle-based attorney, John Henry Brown, was not here, and according to his Bahamian attorney, he has not spoken to Harris Moore himself. So we expect it to proceed like this. If the $300 is paid within the next hour, the embassy tells me Colton Harris Moore will be on a flight back to the U.S. tonight. It is unclear exactly where he would stay, though. Past precedent suggests he would be in Miami, where he would make his first appearance in a federal court before being sent across to your area, to Seattle, Washington. But at this point, it's unclear what's going to happen. What will happen later tonight? It was obvious by the minor offense for which he pleaded guilty that the Bahamian said, enough with this. He's pleaded guilty. We'll send him to the U.S.
All right, Peter Alexander reporting for us from the Bahamas. We appreciate your report very much. And